Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
It is Thursday, November 5th? 4th.
Yes,
and
4th.
We are, it's a beautiful morning, and clearly my brain is still waking up. And
That's right. Well, you know, I'm glad you caught it because I really wasn't sure.
Yeah. But, and the 5th of November is an important day. That's Guy Fawkes Day. So I know that. So people in the UK will be celebrating.
Great.
So that's how I knew it wasn't today. So.
All right. And speaking of the UK, we have our check-in with Dwayne Moody, who is in Scotland, who will be telling us the latest about what's taking place at COP26. So before we get into that, let's take care of some of your daily motivations and your weather check-in. So we'll start off with our eye-opener. Or eye-opener taken from dailyom.com goes like this. If you show up for yourself in life, the universe will show up for you. The way we walk into a room says a lot about the way we live our lives. When we walk into a room curious about what's happening, willing to engage, and perceiving ourselves as an active participant with something to offer, then we have really shown up to the party. When we walk into a room with our eyes down or nervously smiling, we are holding ourselves back for one reason or another. We may be hurting inside and in need of healing, or we may lack the confidence required to really be present in the room. Still, just noticing that we're not really showing up and having a vision of what it will look and feel like when we do can give us the inspiration we need to recover ourselves. There's almost nothing better in the world than the feeling of showing up for our own lives. When we can do this, we become people that are more alive and who have the ability to make things happen in our lives and the lives of the people around us. We walk through the world with the knowledge that we have a lot to offer and the desire to share it.
You know, that's a great eye-opener, and I think it's a good reminder to all of us that, a lot of times we can feel nervous or, we experience self-doubt especially if we're trying something new. But I think that the key is to, once you've made that commitment, or to do something, or you want to try something new, try to think again. One, you've gotten the opportunity for a reason, and take full advantage of that. And I think that's really what showing up for yourself is all about. It's being aware of how you got to that place, and using that to sort of push you through, and so that you don't kind of, just sort of fade into the background.
Yeah. And I love, for me, I think the opening line really does sum up what it takes to be able to really show up for yourself. You don't always feel like it. I think the example of people who walk into a space where other people are and how they greet people, I'm big on ensuring that, you can be able to acknowledge everyone else in the room because one is, we've always been taught, it's a sign of respect. I think it's also just being able to kind of set the tone for the energy that you're bringing into the room. And I love that. And it holds through with everything, whether you're walking into a public space or whether you are walking into an important presentation or meeting or conversation, that and you present yourself that you're bringing everything to the table or all that you can at that moment.
For sure. And I really love the part of the eye-opener that spoke about, even though you might be experiencing something internal or maybe something, but then if you have that vision, you can sort of use it to just sort of give you a little bit of a push of a confidence, and then like once you start doing it, you realize that you can kind of push yourself through.
That's right.
And then suddenly stuff goes, all of the stuff that you were worried about kind of fades in the background. Like
Yeah.
especially if you're doing like, you said a presentation or something,
Yeah.
and that adrenaline kicks in, and then
Yeah.
especially like if you can feed like off of energy and you realize that, the vibes are getting kind of good, then it really does help you.
Absolutely. So that's your your morning motivation. And we are now shifting gears to our weather update for this morning. And we have Francisca Wellington on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene and Gavin. How are you guys doing?
I quite enjoy these cool mornings. They're so comfortable.
No, absolutely.
I
so
know,
do
I agree. I concur.
All right. So tell us how much longer we get to enjoy it.
Okay, well, for the next 24 to 48 hours, we will continue to see relatively moist and stable conditions. So we'll see cloudy skies today. We'll see a few showers, periods of rain, and even isolated thunderstorms. I'm going around the country, but especially along the coast and over the sea.
And those winds?
Out of the north, 5 to 10 knots, and producing slight seas.
And our temperatures for today?
Okay, we're seeing a max of 85 along the coast, 89 inland, 78 up in the Maya Mountains. And overnight, 74 along the coast, 70 inland, and 63 up in the Maya Mountains. So it will remain cool.
All right. And the extended forecast, what are we looking at for Friday and the weekend?
Okay, so let me just start from tonight. We'll see the shower activity continuing straight into Friday night. And that's because we still have remnants of that old frontal boundary. And we're also seeing another cold front approaching us from the northwest. So with the prefrontal activity, we'll see the showers and rain continuing. I am seeing the cold front, I'm going ahead of my time, crossing us Friday night into Saturday.
Ooh. Is it going to be a rainy one or a dry one?
Initially, I'm seeing by Sunday afternoon that most of the rainy stuff will be south of us, and by Monday we'll be seeing cool and dry conditions.
And how cool? I really put you
I
on
am
the spot.
seeing, for Monday, I'm seeing 70 along the coast. It could be cooler.
Okay. All right. That gives us something to look forward to.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, and anything else in the tropics that we need to be monitoring?
Not in our area. We still have Tropical Storm Wanda, but that's, like I would say, northeast of us near the Azores, the islands out there in the Atlantic.
Well, Francisca, thank you so much for that update this morning.
You're welcome.
You have a great day today.
Thanks, and same to you.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like good news to me.
I
Save
know,
for the
right?
rain.
You're being so calm, and I know you're excited to hear
Yes,
cold
I
front
know.
is coming.
so will my dog be. So, but no, for sure, that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. And so we want to thank Francisca Wellington for giving us that weather update. Yep. But as we said earlier, we do have an update from Dwayne Moody, who is in Glasgow, Scotland at COP26. And we are going to be playing a clip that Dwayne has prepared for us, showing all of the activities that have been going on up there over the past few days. So let's get that update from Dwayne.
Good morning, Marlene and Gavin. I am here with Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Mr. Orlando Habet. Sir, you just touched down yesterday and you're here at COP26, already into meetings, straight into meetings. Let's talk about it. Belize making a stand here at this COP26.
Yes, certainly, Edwin. Thank you very much. Good morning from Glasgow, Belize. Certainly important for us. We had the Prime Minister and his small delegation making an impact in the Leaders Summit. We have other ministers here who are doing side events, doing some negotiations, doing some talking with different groups about what it is for Belize and what we can gain from Belize, and trying to see how we can do some type of negotiation so that we can fulfill our objectives. From our standpoint, we go into the first meeting in just about 45 minutes, talking about finance in regards to CARICOM and the finance hub. Important for us, certainly.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because I know that what we've seen so far is that Belize is not being overlooked. And so this high-level meeting that you're going into speaks to climate finance and the Commonwealth Climate Finance Access Hub. What does that mean for any Belizean? What does that mean for the country?
Yes, certainly. Belize has to make certain that within the framework of the Commonwealth, that we are not overlooked, that the needs for our countries, and in our case, Belize, are not overlooked. We have the issues of financing that are really global, but for us as small island states who suffer the impacts of climate change, we need to get the assistance from finance for mitigation activities, for the emissions. But very important for us also is to get the financing for adaptation, because that is where we have these projects where we will build resilience to the impacts of climate change. And we have issues in other articles of the Paris Agreement, like that of loss and damage, where we are trying to see how we can develop a funding mechanism, which has already been discussed in one of the articles of the Paris Agreement, but there is no conclusion on it. But we really need to make certain that we get those types of funding, because we have slow onset events like those of coastal erosion, and then you have those sub-impact events like the flooding and droughts. And so many times we see that it is not too difficult to get those fundings for the sub-impact events, because it is seen, it is worldwide, and then we get some assistance, especially for slow onset events. They're there happening, and then many of the developed countries believe that they should not have to be involved in financing those types of activities.
Sir, so what is the message that you want to send to the world, to everybody that is here about
It is very important for them to know that Belize has done its share. Belize has done its part. For many, many years, we were not even asked to do it, but we did it because it was our policy to keep our country clean, to keep our country as natural as possible. But at the same time, when we are doing this, when we are preserving 60% of our country in green forest, when we are having 39-40% of our country in protected areas and oceans, all this time the developed countries are exploring and exploiting their resources to the detriment of countries like ours in Belize. So it is an opportunity cost that we lost all these years. So now it is time for them to give back, to pay back, especially for those areas where we are being affected.
Sure, so climate justice, that's what we're getting? That's what we want?
Certainly. We have to look at it from that standpoint, because they have done their humongous share of emissions. We have done very little, but yet we are asked to do our emissions reductions. But at the same time, for us, we have to stop the impacts, because it is damaging our communities, it is damaging our resources, and those same natural resources that we have been preserving are now at risk. So certainly we have to get that type of assistance and funding. But apart from the funding, we also need the capacity building. Because when all these things about climate change come about, and all the transitions occur in electric vehicles, we don't produce electric vehicles, so we have to buy them. The solar panels, we don't produce any, we have to buy them. So Belize needs that capacity so that we can start doing our own homegrown innovation and technology, so that we can do things that are suitable for our country.
So we can better adapt. So let's talk about, because I know later today there's also a meeting about carbon rights. What does that mean for the country? What is that about? What is that for Belize?
Certainly, all these forests that we have been preserving, the seagrass and all in the ocean, all the carbon that has been captured by the forest and by mangroves, all those are resources that we have that we can get some benefits from. So the country is looking at carbon rights because we don't have legislation. So we are in the process of doing a framework for the carbon rights legislation. When that is completed and we have ministers here also doing some of that legislation, we will develop that policy and that framework so that when we have that opportunity to sell in addition to what we are already doing, then we can get that for the government. Is it the government that's going to own everything? Possibly not. Maybe the government will be in charge of the sales. We don't know as yet. It depends on what the legislation will say. But certainly, there has to be a benefit sharing mechanism so that the people can participate because the private sector needs that. So why is it important for me to reforest my land and my property? If in the end I will get nothing, then they will continue to have it out for agriculture, for livestock and for other things. When there is an opportunity for us to make money, to make it into a business by planting trees and everything.
So we will ensure that by the time we leave from here, Belize will not only be a small country on a map that is part of Central America, that is part of the Caribbean, but it will be an example for other countries as to what to do.
It certainly is. As a matter of fact, I believe that we have put the country on the world map. It is being recognized as one of those countries that has, of course, the large portion of its territory in green areas and in areas that are being put into preservation. But also that Belize is a shining example in other areas. As a matter of fact, the work we have been doing during our forest level assessments is a model for the rest of the Caribbean, for Central America. And so I believe that with more technology, with more capacity building, including in the areas of executing agencies, not only to become implementing agencies, but to have our own executing agencies. Because a lot of times, a lot of the money that comes for these projects come through executing agencies that take a big chunk of it, and by the time it gets back home, these money is lost again.
Yeah, so any last comment for Belizeans at home listening to you and what is happening here?
Certainly, Belizeans, we are here representing you, but we also know that as individuals, as Belizeans, you are asked to do your share, I am asked to do my share, and we all have to do our part to curb global emissions, but also to adapt to the effects of climate change. But because we are here and we will be in the negotiating process, we will be doing that part for you. But we will only be able to do that if we can get the cooperation of some of the articles in the Paris Agreement have some cooperation with transparency. So we will be doing that kind of thing for Belize.
Thank you so much. There you have it, Minister Orlando Javed, saying that really what is happening here, the representation that we're seeing here at the COP from Belizean officials is really for the country and for the Belizean populace. We are trying to see how best we can adapt and mitigate the big issue of climate change, which is being experienced everywhere, especially in Belize, where we're seeing land erosion that's happening. We're seeing weather patterns changing. So the farming community, they've been affected. Coastline community, they've been affected. And just in general, the hotter days and all of that that we've been experiencing. And they're here to put Belize on the map. Again, stay tuned. We will have more during the newscast on everything that is happening here at COP26. Back to you guys.
he caught up with Minister Orlando Habet, Minister of Sustainable Development and Climate Change. Definitely, we know that, as we said, when the World Leaders Summit wrapped up, that the negotiators would then step in to be able to finalize the details of the commitments that will be made.
Yes, absolutely, and that will be ongoing over the next few days, and we will continue to bring you the coverage of the events as they do happen on a day-to-day basis. And of course, it is interesting. Of course, the whole conference is very interesting to see the world come together to, with this common goal. And it is another thing that is really interesting for us, I think, as Belizeans, is to see that Belize is really taking, or has taken so far, a pretty big role in the conference so far, and we're on center stage, of course. We spoke about the clip of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, responding to one of the comments that was put to him by a reporter, quoting our own Prime Minister. And if you've been following a lot of the government social media pages, such as the Prime Minister's social media pages, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you can see also that meetings, formal and informal at different levels, have been occurring with several members of the several different countries. We've seen the Prime Minister speaking with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the head of the Minister of Foreign Affairs with the head of the World Trade Organization, and there was also a bilateral meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. And of course, there's a lot of other coverage, and you can see the delegation, which includes several other representatives from different ministries, the Attorney General, Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Finance. So it is definitely a high-level delegation. There's lots of meetings, and hopefully a lot of successful negotiations will be concluded. And we hope to bring you the coverage of all of those as they do develop.
Also seeing our Minister of Blue Economy and his CEO being interviewed there by the international press. As you rightly pointed out, Gavin, it was really a moment when we heard the reporter quote Prime Minister Briceño when asking the question to Prime Minister Boris Johnson about the anger that people in this region feel. People who've been impacted by climate change and by the lack of action that we've seen.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that in several respects, and I'm talking about the region and countries and other countries who experience the effects of climate change, have been let down in certain respects because of the failure to meet certain commitments, and of course the policy that several of the larger economies, the policies, I should say, that are continuing to follow, which continue to contribute to the issues that are negatively impacting us when it comes to climate change. So that's what the call is finally being heard, and hopefully there's going to be some action.
All right, and of course we have Dwayne Moody there, who will keep us updated until the end of the conference, which closes next week. So we'll have that update for you tonight as well, as to what took place in the rest of the day. He's about there into the afternoon at this point, so we'll have that update in our 6 p.m. newscast, and again tomorrow morning here on Open Your Eyes. But with that, though, we got to shift gears into our lineup for this morning. So we're going to tell you what's coming up.
Yep, and continuing sort of on a similar sort of theme, we're going to be talking about energy. In our first conversation, we are going to be joined by the Minister of Public Utilities to discuss CARICOM Energy Month, and we are going to be getting an update from his ministry into some of the activities that will be going on and some of the initiatives that will be going forth in the ministry that support some of the objectives.
All right, the second part of the show, we're going to be joined by a representative of the Belize Medical and Dental Association. They have officially put forward their position on the Misuse of Drugs Amendment Bill, of course, and this is surrounding the conversation about the legalization and the establishment of the cannabis industry in Belize. So we're going to hear from them directly as to how they came to their position and some of the highlights that they have already outlined.
And finally, we are going to be speaking about yoga, one of my favorite topics. The final part of our show, we're going to be getting an update from Om Shanti Belize. And we're going to be learning all about an integrative yoga teacher training that is going to be conducted by Om Shanti. And we're going to learn all about that in our third and final conversation for this morning.
All right. So that's what we have in store for you. We're going to go ahead and take that first break, and we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
Vaccines protect you and they protect me. Getting vaccinated is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Once enough people are immunized, opportunities for an outbreak of disease becomes very low. And if we all choose to get vaccinated, we contribute in getting back to spending quality time with our loved ones in a safe way.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Are you looking to invest in a growing free trade economy with ideal geographical positioning and existing economic partnership agreements with countries around the world? Perfectly nestled between Central America and the Caribbean, Belize is open for business with over $500 million in investment opportunities in industries such as agriculture, aquaculture, tourism, and much more. Register today to participate in the Belize Investment Summit 2021 and find the investment opportunity that's right for you.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. at a monitor, and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
And we're back. And if you're joining us right now, we are just getting our first conversation for this morning started. And as we mentioned before the break, we are joined by Minister Rodwell Ferguson, who is the Minister of Public Utilities, Energy and Logistics, as well as Ryan Cobb, who is the Energy Direction from the Ministry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
And we are talking about CARICOM Energy Month and some of the initiatives that the Ministry is hoping to achieve for this. So perhaps we can start the conversation just for the benefit of our viewers, talking just about what Energy Month is and a little bit about this year's theme. Minister, you can...
What I'll do, I'll give you the theme for this year's energy theme, which is resilience, dependence to resilience, fueling our recovery with sustainable energy. Ryan, who is the Director of Energy, might have more facts of what Energy Month is all about. So I'll ask him now to come in and give us an explanation of the entire energy facts within our ministry.
All right, thank you, Minister. Yes, Energy Month is a month that's being celebrated throughout all CARICOM countries. It's a month where we are focusing on highlighting all the energy needs and the energy prosperity that we need to have in these in our different territories. Quite fitting our theme, which is from dependence to resilience, being that most CARICOM countries are oil dependent. And specifically throughout these last 2 years that we've been going through these pandemics, where a lot of these countries have seen a fall in foreign reserves. So it's been of a struggle to actually get in those fossil fuels. So we're looking more at how can these countries now be a bit more self-sufficient, or the reduction of consumption of these fossil fuels.
So let's set the backdrop for this conversation. If we're talking about resilience and moving away from the level of dependence that we have, where are we today?
So today, when we're talking about energy, specifically within the electric field, right now in Belize, we're at 51% renewable energies from all sources, which is actually quite a bit up from the rest of the Caribbean, which are at about 25% approximately.
And our current sources of renewable energy
are hydro and biomass.
That's right. And percentage-wise, biomass, where are we?
Biomass is about, on a good year, biomass accounts for about 20%. Hydro accounts for about 40% whenever we have good amounts of reserve.
Okay.
So we have capacity to produce up to 60%. It all just depends on weather patterns. Again, it comes back to resilience, because so much of our power is dependent on climate change as well.
Yeah. You know, as we, had that conversation there about what's happening in Scotland with climate change, a huge part of what we're looking at is moving towards renewable energy. And the technology has advanced so much. It starts off with some of the basics like wind turbines and solar energy and these as sources. But Belize is still not tapped into these types of sources, even though we know we have them in abundance. What's the plan?
So when it comes to specifically getting access to these communities, we're actually starting to make great waves. specifically when it comes to microgrids. So these communities that are very far off from BL's main grid. We are coming in and we're installing solar panels, centralized solar panels to produce power. BL has partnered with us to put in the distribution lines so that then families can connect to this microgrid and have access to power just like any other Belizean in other part of the country.
If I must say that energy is a dimension of the future. Right now, Ryan gets in a lot of proposals, and we are having an RFP, request for proposal, in March of 2022. So from next year, you'll see some activities starting when it comes to renewable energy. Because so many people are putting requests. We are looking for the best price per kilowatt hour. So it ranges from maybe 8 cents US to maybe about 15 cents US per kilowatt hour. But as a government, we are trying to get the lower price, so we don't need to give it back to the consumer. Then it will be less than maybe what we're having right now.
And when we talk about creating greater access to energy and some of these resources, how, in terms of the communities that you're hoping to reach, how many do you hope to reach with some of these new initiatives who may be, let's say, who aren't as fully connected then as everybody else?
Yeah, we did an assessment over the last maybe 8 months, and there are 36 communities across the country that do not have any access to electricity. Out of that 36, 28 once. The other 8 are Mennonites community who say that they have no interest in any kind of energy. They use whatever they have. So we started a program, I think, in Indian Creek, Medina Bank, and Golden Stream. That was sponsored by the United Arab Emirates. That should be in completion within 6 months. That should be on stream and provide 24 hours electricity to them. We also started a program in Corazon Creek in Toledo, because the majority of them are in the Toledo district that don't have any access. So that is on stream right now. And then just about a month ago, we did a tour with Light Up Belize. This is from the European Union. And we are now identifying another 6 because they have a $30 million project, which is a grant, to be able to reach out to 6 more communities. So within a time period, we have to figure out how we can find funding to reach out to the remainder of community. But I think the program has started, and I believe it will come to a conclusion at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, electrification is so important. It's hard to imagine that we turn 40 and there's still Belizeans living without access to electricity. But bring me back to the conversation about solar power. We've had conversations here on the set before with people who have interest in investing and would want to explore. But a part of the challenge is getting the legislation up to mark. In other words, what do you do if I generate power for my own home and there's excess? Can I sell back to the grid? At what rate do I sell back to the grid? So there's some details that need to be hammered out before we even move in that direction. What are we doing now?
Yes, rightfully said so. Currently, right now, we are working with both PUC and BL right now to actually work on those regulations, both the technical and financial regulations. Actually, right now, if you go to the PUC's website, there are regulations out for public comment. So we want not just the general public, but people in the industry that are practicing. What are your comments so that we could put in these regulations in place? We're hoping that sometime early next year, we're going to have these regulations in place. Once we have these regulations in place, we'll be able to then work on the financial mechanism. So this would be whether in some jurisdictions in countries around the world, what they do is what's called net metering. If I give 5 units out to the grid, I can consume 5 units and I cancel the charges. Or it could be that I consume 5 units from the grid at a price, and then when my 5 units goes into the grid, I charge the grid a price as well. So these are all the different types of mechanisms that we're currently looking at right now.
Yeah.
And earlier when you were speaking about microgrids, perhaps for some of our viewers who don't really understand what that would exactly encompass, what really is a microgrid that you're hoping to develop in some of these communities?
Well, I say we have some already on the way. And a microgrid is when the grid is not connected to main electricity grid. So what the donors do they put up a solar with battery system in those communities, and then they'll go in and put in the posts. So that electricity is only for that particular village.
So it's sort of self-sustainable.
Self-sustainable, but at the same time they receive the same amount of energy or current that the normal person gets. So the billing price for them is the same.
And what about making it easier for people to transition willingly to renewable energy sources? I know in a couple countries in the Caribbean, for example, they do offer a reduction in import prices, taxes for things like solar panels, so that people feel more encouraged to be able to switch towards renewable energy sources.
Yes, rightfully said so. One interesting tidbit is that many people are not aware that actually solar panels have zero import duty. All you need to pay is the GST on them. Where the expense now comes in is in the associated accessories, the inverters, the batteries, and so forth. The ministry is going to be working along with the Ministry of Finance to see how we can affect these different tariff structures, because the government's overall goal is for a sustainable country going forward.
And I just lost my question. And I was thinking about the... Oh, yes. I see, it does happen. Yes. In relation to solar panels and other initiatives in this area, I imagine that this is also an opportunity for the government to work along with perhaps the private sector and people who are interested in investing in this sort of technology. Has the ministry also been engaging with other stakeholders?
Yes, and rightfully so. This will be showcased at next week's upcoming Investment Summit, where in conjunction with financial institutions such as the DFC, we have loans out for small enterprises that can access to actually give these types of services. There's also the private community that have these funds as well, that may be looking for maybe the expertise in these areas. So the ministry is looking to build that expertise within the private community as well.
And the Investment Summit, they drew a lot of attraction to the Ministry of Energy. So we get a lot of requests over the last week or two that when they come to San Pedro, they want to meet with us to discuss energy. So it's looking very good. Yeah.
Now, I understand that it's also something that the government wants to lead by example, by ensuring that public buildings also make that switch. Let's talk about that.
So I think over the last month, Ryan, I know the Light Up Belize went through several government buildings to change the lights that they have in there to LED lights, which burn less energy and everything. So the process has begun. It will take us a while, but we have done start to implement it.
Yeah. So it's basically energy efficiency in public buildings. We've done pilot programs in the past. We've done the KHMH building, our national hospital. Right before COVID, we changed out all of their luminaires to LED luminaires, and some of their ACs to inverter type ACs. The Prime Minister's building, the Serenity Kane building, we also did those interventions, and we've seen a reduction in bills for approximately 20%. That's what we're noticing so far. So we're going to be doing about at least another 2 buildings under the Light Up Belize program, as the Minister has said. And we want to do this one a bit more systematically, not just doing interventions in technology, but also doing interventions in behavior. So we're going to be doing building managers.
Now, it's interesting. It's the type of, I think they call it an energy audit, where you go in and you see where there's misuse or waste taking place. I'm sure having that level of expertise, you move around in buildings, whether public or private, and you think, man, what a waste is happening here. What do you think it will take for people to become more conscious that, one, making the shift towards a more energy efficient space is perhaps an expense up front or an investment up front, but it pays off in the long term, both environmentally and for your pocket?
Yes, it's a 3-pronged approach. First, we need to have that public outreach, to have that information easily accessible to the general public. 2 is people tend to want to welcome these interventions, but financing is a hindrance at times. So that's why we're working with programs such as the DFC. We may be developing programs with Belize Electricity Limited as well. And then thirdly, it's putting in regulations in place for the type of energy efficient equipment that's coming into the country. So the availability of technology.
And I think as we arrive at 2030, which is the deadline to transform the world, I think the prices for these will be much cheaper than the other public should be able to purchase. I'll give an example. When I come from a village, and initially when we had our water system, it was a flat rate. And so when it was a flat rate, then the children waste the water. The parents don't care because it's a flat rate. When the system was meterized, then everybody would get very conscious and say, you know what, you make sure how you consume and use the water. And I think as the Belizean people see the difference, they will make the investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, while we're still on the issue of energy efficiency, I wanna bring up the other point, which actually is both under your portfolio, transportation. When we look at the type of vehicles that we use in Belize, if we look at what's imported for public transportation, these are not energy efficient vehicles at all.
It will take us a while to get there. As a matter of fact, through the EDF, European Development Fund, we are getting funding to buy 3 electric buses. Those should be in the country maybe mid-2022. And we have already designated a spot where we'll do a pilot run, one in the west and 2 in Belize City. But when you look at the price of these buses, it is really outrageous. I'm talking about $700,000, $800,000 for a bus. In the end, it should pay off, but you have to find the initial money to purchase these buses. But we are starting that process. I think within a couple of days, BL is going to contribute 2 motorcycles, I think 1 to the City Council and 1 for some other organization to start the process.
Okay. And what about electric cars?
Well, we already have about 2 or 3 in the country. And I say our government have now put the legislation in place to allow our Belizean people to purchase them and at a reduced cost of duty. Because when we purchase in Belize and the duty is 75%, that almost double the cost.
And in partnering with BL as well, BL is doing a pilot program for charging stations across the city, and then eventually rolling out across the country. So charging infrastructure, it's always somewhat of a chicken and the egg. Do we put in the infrastructure first, or do we wait until there's electric vehicles within the country?
So right now, where can people charge? Only at BL?
Right now, it's only on their compound, and of course, if they would have a charger at home. But we believe in the coming year, BL will be rolling out quite a lot of more charging stations, public charging stations, of course.
And going back to the initiative to connect some of the villages who don't have access to the electricity. Also, what comes to my mind is that a lot of these communities would necessarily also be facing other issues, such as lack of access to other utilities, such as phone. And then you had also mentioned, a water system. So, is there also plans to increase access to all of those different utilities to those communities as well?
It will become more easy access with the advent of electricity. So while we were traveling around the country, we make sure we carry BTL along with us. And Solomon?
It's primarily BTL and BL who have been traveling
along with us.
So one of the things that we have done is, because microgrids, they have to be sized for the community. So apart from the size of the community, we also put in an additional amount for utilities, such as Digi, so that they could come in, put in a tower or a repeater. So then that community can now have access to cellular service. But not only that, but we could also put in now things such as signal boosters. So things such as radios, they'll now have access to radios. And it's not just for, let's quote unquote, entertainment purposes, but it's actually an emergency response, so that people know if there are anything, natural disasters, flooding, hurricanes, things to that effect.
No, and it's absolutely important for them to be connected. As you said, you're starting off with 6 communities. Which communities have you identified?
Those will be identified based on certain criteria. They have not been identified physically yet, but maybe within a couple of months they should be identified, and start off with 6. So far we have not decided which 6 is going to be
That's a tough call.
Tough call.
Yeah. So we've developed a matrix that will quote unquote rank these communities based on the size, if they have any types of health cares, schools, water systems. So these are just some of the criteria that we're using to quote unquote rank these communities. And we're looking at all communities within the country, not just the South, but the majority of the number of communities that don't have access are in the South.
Yes, yes. And, you know, how do you plan for growth of the community?
It's a systematic approach with BL. So when we size, we don't size just for the current community, we size for an additional expansion. Plus, because BL is now in the community, BL already will be putting in their standard poles and lines. So whenever they reach a certain quantum, BL could actually just come in and connect that village to the main grid.
But in Toledo, most of the villages are remote. And so it's difficult to even get the main grid to those villages. As we are winding Indian Creek and that region, there's another concern. The villagers are saying then if you are going to provide me with electricity, then you have to take it to 100%, make sure that I get free connection, because over the years you are going to make X amount from the system. So they are now revolting and saying, what, if you are going to come here, then make sure everybody in this village have access to free connection to the grid. Yes, that is.
Yeah, so those are some of the challenges that we're facing. And what may not be apparent is that these systems are actually costing the government and actually BL as a private entity revenue, because they don't actually generate any profit. It's more costly to run, it's more costly to maintain than your standard grid.
And who does the maintenance?
It will be BL.
Okay.
BL will be doing maintenance. So this is another thing that we've seen in past projects that's been done primarily by some NGOs, where they set up a project, but in a year to 2 years' time, these projects tend to fizzle out. It's because of that sustainability factor. But including BL from the onset will ensure that these systems continue on for many years to come.
Now, the remoteness of some of these villages, though, if something goes wrong, it may take some time for someone to access. Have you considered training people from within the community or the area, the district itself, so that they can be able to go out to whichever village it is and check if there's a problem?
Rightfully so. With these other two projects that the minister had mentioned, with Indian Creek and with Corazon Creek, there will be people trained within the village for first response.
Okay.
And it's also incorporating some other programs that we have with civil society. Well, they will be incorporating the Mayan women that have been trained in solar in India, so as to be part of projects such as these.
Yeah, they're pretty great. They went to India and learned it, and they managed the system there. But that's also a question I have in terms of looking for the future of this industry. You know, you can tell me, but what's our level of expertise that we have in country, and how much is there a need for persons to be able to study in this field and be able to offer their services here in Belize?
So expertise, when it comes to overall design, we do have quite a number of companies for overall design.
Okay.
We would need some more technicians going forward. And actually the Ministry of Education right now is working along with colleges in Canada to develop a program for the IT vets, specifically in renewable energy and energy efficiency. And the ministry is part of that program.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because a lot of people sign up for the electrician courses at the IT vet as well. I don't know how much they teach them about renewable energy.
Yeah, so this will then complement those programs.
And talking about, you know, continuing to the theme, I guess, of the CARICOM Energy Week and sort of reducing dependency. Do we also, looking at some of these other sources that we generate our own power from, such as hydro, are we also looking to expand any initiatives in that area as well?
Well, I just came up from Honduras last week, and I met with the Kabir Board of Directors. and they were suggesting that the best approach to renewable energy is solar, hydro, and battery. Because the battery is so expensive that if you have to utilize the battery so often and it only lasts for 10 years, then it's an expensive venture. And so they're saying if you hold the three of them together, it should give you better output. So we are hopeful. I think you hear about Mr. Willie Castillo, who wants to do the energy with the Cahoon. That's a new direction. So if he is successful and find the funding, then we may have enough sources to provide energy to the grid.
Yeah, one of the most important things when we're talking about sustainable energy is really a diversification of your energy sources, so that you're not dependent on, again, we come back to climate change. With long periods of drought, that affects hydro, but it's good for solar. Long periods of rain, not so good for solar, but good for hydro and biomass production in some sense.
Is there so I guess that would kind of be the ideal combination for Belize with our wet and dry seasons, that we do solar and hydro.
Along with the battery.
Along with the battery.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, Minister, and that next week when the investment summit takes place, that there are a number of people who are interested in investing in renewable energy projects. What's the plan there moving forward? Because there are Belizeans who are interested as well.
Well, everybody who comes to our ministry and make the request, we tell them what is the procedure to apply. And you know, BL have this RFP or the request for a proposal that we have to go through, and they will do the feasibility, they will do the study to figure out who brings in the best proposal and the best price. So it could be a Belizean company that can be successful, it can be a foreign company, but we allow everybody to apply.
Yeah, but is it primarily looking for just large-scale investors, or there's openness to have smaller Belizean companies?
Well, it is good to have the smaller Belizean company, but we are saying if you have maybe 5-10 companies maybe producing maybe 10 kilowatts or 10 megawatts, but if we get a big company and give us the entire 55 megawatts, it might be easier to prolong. Yeah,
it's all a question of economies of scale. And ultimately what we want to do, apart from just investing in renewable energies, is bringing the cost of energy down for the Belizean public.
So we are hopeful that we buy fossil fuel from Mexico, but I think once we can produce enough alternative energy, we can also sell them back energy, because they also require an amount of energy in Mexico.
Yeah. And how much retrofitting has to be done to the existing infrastructure as we try to make this move towards total renewable energy?
Currently, at the level that we're at right now, there isn't need much further modification of what's the normal grid right now. But BL in its evolution is what's called smarting the grid. So they naturally are putting in resilience to the grid, not just in terms of what loads it can carry, but resilience to natural disasters, to lines going down. So all of these also go into effect of increasing the probability of putting in new infrastructure on the grid as well. Not just large scale, but also such as your rooftop solar.
Yeah, and actually I was going to ask about that, because we were talking about climate change in general, so I was wondering if that's also an area which we've seen a lot of effects in terms of damage or I think to some of our existing infrastructure, and how we're preparing for it moving forward.
Yes, rightfully so. For example, right now that we have, what we have basically is what's called a radial system. So it's, you leave point A and there's only one way to get to point B. BL is working on putting in redundancy so that you could have multiple paths to point B. So that if one portion goes down, you can isolate that portion, keep everybody up running around that, fix it, and then just bring it back up.
Yeah, that would be helpful. We've been having quite a few blackouts these days.
Yeah.
Now, there is a art competition coming up as well. I do want to take the opportunity to mention that as a part of CARICOM Energy Month. Can you tell us the details about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
We decided to launch, and to our knowledge, it's one of the first digital art competitions. So it wasn't just you coming out with a drawing and taking a picture of it. It's digital art, whether that's through Photoshop or actual digital paintings on computers. To show the theme was showing the transition of traditional fossil fuels to new sustainable types of energy. And we weren't expecting a lot of submissions, to be quite honest, but we were really overwhelmed with the response. And not just the quality of the work itself, but some of the descriptions that we saw. Some of the contestants have said we were really passing through a downtime mentally because of the current conditions of pandemic and isolations. But this digital art has really allowed me to express myself.
No, we're seeing it on screen.
Yeah, it's
so
on screen.
beautiful stuff.
Yes.
You were saying?
No, I said it's on the screen.
Yeah.
But beside the point, the Central American Bank want to do a transmission line from Mexico, Belize, Honduras. So interconnection, so if there's any issues along the way, there's a connection between all three countries. That will definitely boost our energy for the country of Belize.
And what is our relationship like with the other countries in the region when it comes to the energy? Because we do get a lot from Mexico and stuff. So what is that relationship like, bilaterally?
Well, I think initially, as Belizeans, we more connected with CARICOM, but we are basically closer on the mainland to Central America. So we need to establish a better ties and a better relationship. Going to Kabwe, it let me feel very welcome that they are thinking about a regional integration. And so I believe within the next couple months or the next couple of years, we are going to see more effective relationship between Central America, and likewise we are still maintain a relationship with CARICOM. But Central America is right here beside us.
Yes, because actually we have great bilateral relations with Mexico. And in Central America, there actually is something that's called the Central American Integration System. And there is an interconnection power line that runs from basically from Guatemala all the way to Panama. Belize is unfortunately not a part of that at this point in time. But we are a part of the integration system. So we have participated in those meetings. And one of the reasons that we, quote unquote, have not been part of the physical infrastructure in the past has primarily because of the size of our country, the demand in terms of demand of electricity demand. But going forward, we're noticing that it is possible that us not just being a consumer within that central line, but we can actually be our producers. We are blessed with quite an amount of natural resources in this country that contribute to our neighbors in Central America.
That's a great opportunity there as well.
Yeah.
All right. So what other ways will you be celebrating CARICOM Energy Month?
Well, you had highlighted before, we have the art competition. We'll be announcing the winners this evening, actually, at the launch of the Light Up Belize program. The Light Up Belize program is the technical assistance program that's helping us build all of the different components of the EU grant, whether that be in policy, legislation, the electric buses, the microgrids, energy efficiency. And apart from that, we will also be releasing our 2020 energy statistics, our energy report. This is primarily useful not just for Belize to reporting to our international partners, but for investors as well, so that they have an idea of what the energy scenario looks like in Belize.
And any details about that report that people can look forward to?
Aaron, can you give?
Yes, so that report will specifically show how we've been slowly increasing our renewable energy production in Belize, and what are the potential future for production in Belize as well.
All right, well, we definitely look forward to that, but we are just about out of time. But before we go, you can leave with any closing thoughts that you have in relation to Energy Month, or just in general, both Minister.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of Energy Month. This is my first time since we took over office 1 year ago. Coming across Ryan, he's very versed when it comes to energy. So I think we have a very dynamic team, and we are cognizant that we can make it happen. So after March 2022, when we send out the RFP, the request for proposals, then we'll see some action start to begin. Besides the energy, I'm a politician, so I want to wish all my people in my constituency all the best for this morning, and I'm here to make sure we can make things happen for them.
Yeah, and I'd just like to thank you for having us today to share this information that we're having, and for the public to look out for our future information and actual competitions that we'll also be running.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and letting us know about the commemoration of this month, where we are today, and definitely looking forward to that report when it comes out. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. And we're going to go ahead now and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by a representative of the Belize Medical and Dental Association to talk about their position on the Misuse of Drugs Amendment Bill. Please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
When something is good and you can save, that makes it even better. Like this guy, he buys Flex bundles using his promo credit. No worries when his primary credit is finished. He gets talk, text, and data for free. Or her, she calls her family internationally with her promo credit. And with data packages so affordable, she even does video calls. Smart continues to offer great deals and affordable promotions. As a small business owner, she saves when she uses her promo credit to call the other guys. All Smart customers enjoy more triple days and knowing they can use their promo credit, which just lasts longer. Smart, bringing people together.
High impact, innovative, inclusive, and accessible. Today's DFC is empowering Belize's economy to be economically, socially, and environmentally resilient. Hear from our customers how DFC is empowering them to do more.
The small business loan that I got from DFC, it really helped a lot in the drum making for the business, because the tools that we got, like the chainsaw, the electrical planer, it is very valuable to prepare the drums the way how we want it, because we want to put out very good products. Whenever the customer purchases the drum, I always tell them, please cherish this drum because it's out of love. Make sure when you play that drum, it's from love.
Before the COVID, Ragamuffin Tours was conducting 5 different tours a day. We were carrying about 60 people out daily, and when the COVID hit, our industry collapsed to 0%. Ragamuffin Tours seek finance from DFC, which have helped to keep 9 of my staff employed. Also to recover and repair my boats and equipments. Hopefully, coming this new season, 2022, that we could be bound full working staff and capital.
We've been working with DFC since 2019, and we entered into one of their renewable energy loans to help our diversified business manage its costs. 80% of our loan went to cover solar infrastructure, and then the balance of our loan went to replacing old refrigeration equipment. In terms of power, our PV system produces 105 kilowatt hours. We actually use about 100 to 130 kilowatts per day. So our solar, on a really good day when we're not using a lot of electricity at night, will cover more than half of our power use. Just depends on what our usages are in the season.
I used to rent this property for like about 6 years, and then I found out that the owner was selling it. The loan I got was to purchase this property. I have my business here. I have had it for 6 years. I live here, and then the property has 2 rental units. With DFC, I got this opportunity. It benefits me because I'm a mom now, and I have my business here. I have my life here, I can say. I've been living here for so long, so I feel like this property, it belongs to me. It belongs to me. I feel home here.
Well, I finally completed my bachelor's degree in psychology with a concentration in family and marriages. I mean, it was one of the hardest decisions to make, to go abroad to study. It was an experience worth having. I had needed to finish classes, and without that loan, I would not have been able to finish the class and graduate when I had needed to. So I was very thankful to DFC for that.
Hace 15 años cuando comencé a trabajar aquí en este rancho, comencé a ver crecer más con ganado y llegué a 2,800 cabezas de ganado y mi pasto, pues tenía yo mucho más pasto. Yo tenía mucho más tierra comprado que ganado. Entonces yo fui a ver el DFC para hacer un préstamo para aumentar el ganado. Y nos ayudaron y aumentamos ahorita 3,800 cabezas de ganado. El gobierno, por el apoyo del gobierno podemos hacer todo eso, lo que hicimos ahorita, la exportación a México, sí apoyaron mucho, en todo nos apoyaron. Y si va a seguir como está siguiendo ahorita, no debe de tardar, vamos a tener la matanza allá para exportar en canal.
We started with the idea for a boot manufacturing operation in 2019. What COVID did was really make us very decisive to move forward with this project, and we did pitch the plan to the Development Finance Corporation. They reviewed it, we went through the processes, the challenges and the pros and cons, and that is what has brought us here today. So within that first component of the business model was to develop the types of footwear we wanted. Our design and our process is really equivalent in a price point and quality than any manufacturer abroad. What we are hoping for is conscientiousness from at the corporate level to be willing to partner with us as a true partner and not just as a customer, so we can develop a product that is fit and perfect for them.
The testimonials you've seen today span a wide cross-section of Belize's economic landscape. It's also reflective of DFC embracing inclusive and innovative financing, with women and at-risk groups being funded alongside larger commercial projects like sugar and citrus production. As a woman leader, I am proud of the women featured. We are equally proud of being a part of the successful recovery of tour guide operations in the wake of the pandemic. And with the influx of new financing from GOB, a new line of credit from the IDB, those who dare to invest in Belize can be assured of DFC's support for loan financing and technical assistance for years to come.
DFC, empowering lives.
And we're back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today. As you may have seen in our news report, the Belize Medical and Dental Association has officially put forward its position on marijuana and the proposed amendments to our legislation. We have with us a representative of the BMDA, Dr. Joel Cervantes, who's also a neurosurgeon and spine surgeon, who will share with us more about how this position was put together and why the current stance is what it is. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you all. Thanks for the invitation on behalf of the Belize Medical and Dental Association. Approximately in the month of July, ending of July, beginning of August, our president, Dr. Wright, convened a meeting among several of us, members of the BMDA, because the BMDA has different committees.
Yeah.
And so this committee was put together because of the rumblings of, this amendment. And so we had these meetings in starting to put together a position. Our president requested, and we were granted a meeting with the minister. And that meeting we went to was on the 6th of September. We sat down, we heard the minister, we heard his international consultant. We were educated on from what perspective they were coming, why the amendments. Perhaps the only inconvenience in our sitting at the meeting that day was that we had not been made privy before to the proposed amendment. So you go to a meeting wanting to participate in a mature conversation, but the disadvantage is that, well, we're sitting there and there's a language being spoken and we're a little bit uncomfortable. But we're mature people, we believe in dialogue. And so at the end, perhaps a couple minutes before the end of the talk as such, the meeting, the minister asked us, he said, but you all don't have the proposed amendments? And we were like, no, we requested it and through our whatever channels, and we didn't get a copy. So that was in a nutshell what had happened there. So we got some interesting points of view from the international consultant. We got some interesting points of view from the government, the minister per se. And we realized the importance that government has in creating this new industry, which we don't disagree with. Yeah. However, after that meeting and its conclusion, the international consultant had commented on the possibility of us obtaining information. That information precisely was that studies have been done with what is locally available. I'm going to use the word market, whatever marijuana is available, whether it's grown or imported into Belize, and what people consume. We were supposed to get information as to what the makeup of it is. We have not been able to get that information. And so after our meetings, our back and forths, with that we decided, with that information that we had, let's put forward our position as the BMDA. Before we did that, we responsibly reached out to our membership and we did a survey. And then based on the findings of the survey, that's how we came to put a position paper that you all have read at this point.
Yes. And that is what I found interesting looking at your position paper. And I want to start off there just looking at where the majority of physicians who are a part of the association, what they feel is the best way forward. So let's start with those results. So less than 25% agree with the legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes.
Precisely. And I think
were you surprised by this?
I think we were surprised, yes. We were surprised because many of us who are part of the committee may have had a different view, from a personal perspective, but obviously we were surprised. So what we think it boils down to is education. If you are given the information, and as responsible health practitioners, doctors and dentists, if we have the information, which we have information, because we are scientists in our own sense, we belong to societies worldwide, we're part of an association here, we read, we study. But then if you have authorities that have an information, then give us the information so we can integrate it. Yeah. And it would have been best because perhaps then the results of that survey would have been different. Not so. So what we did is we basically sent out the survey, doctors replied, and that's the result of the first point.
All right, so that was 25% for recreational use, which means just for fun or for your enjoyment.
Right.
Medicinal, 75% of those surveyed agreed, and 95% felt that, in fact, there needed to be an education process with the changes in the legislation.
Definitely, because, we have a lot of foot soldiers in the association. All of us are foot soldiers. It's not like, we have an executive sitting down and other doctors are on the rung below. No, we all take turns. We're all parts of different committees. And some people, some of our doctors and dentists, for example, their patients come and talk to them. And so we started to ask a lot of questions to the people who consume leisurely, or some people say that they consume from a medicinal perspective. So as doctors, we have been interviewing our patients informally for quite a period of time.
Mm-hmm. Now let's dive into the science here. And Doc, I think, you know, we've had conversations before about how marijuana impacts the body and what the science is saying. And so you told me that before we started, you're here representing BMDA, not necessarily your personal point of view, but as a neurosurgeon, you can help us understand why medical professionals may have concerns about impact on brain or learning with marijuana use.
Definitely. First, we all have a natural inborn marijuana system. That's what we all have. We're born with it. And it's not only in the brain and running along the nerves. We can find it in different tissues. We can find it in the intestines, in the spleen, in the pancreas, in the lungs, lining the lungs. So we have these receptors, this natural marijuana system, ingrown in the body. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing that's important is that when we're in our mom's womb, we're born, we grow. Up to what age does perhaps the motherboard of us as human beings, the motherboard where the hardware and software programs are, the brain, up to what age do we finish maturing? There are arguments
25.
out there, right? And sometimes a little bit more discriminatory in saying that women's brain mature before. Yeah. So let's give a cutoff point. Looking at all the literature, let's say age 25.
Yeah.
So at age 25, females and males, there's no more brain development per se. It doesn't mean that areas of the brain can't have regeneration if there's injury. So if you are going to consume something that, generally speaking, perhaps many people in the public at large think that is innocuous, there can be a problem. Because traditionally you see the kids on the street corner, and I don't know the ages, right? But from a very young age, they're starting to consume marijuana. We don't know the composition of marijuana we have in Belize. Marijuana has more than 400 chemicals. The psychoactive ingredient is called THC for short. And yes, it has a lot of other compounds called cannabinoids, of which the most important is CBD, that's the ambassador, that has medicinal properties. But if you consume marijuana, you can cause damage to your lungs, to your stomach, the lining inside your throat, your brain, your body in general. So having to be responsible, it's like, hold on, it's, you know, we need education. That is the first premise. How does this thing work? Marijuana works in a system that I call a social networking system. We call it the limbic system in medicine, and different areas of the brain, left and right side, are involved. And just like how we have 3 bridges that communicate the north and the south side of the city, we have these bridges that communicate left and right side. So if you're going to consume a substance that can alter the way you understand and the way you think, it can affect your health.
So, and you know, going back to what you said about not knowing the composition of marijuana in Belize, I found it interesting, just going back to the survey, that when we spoke about the less than 25% not agreeing to the recreational use, I noticed that the qualifier in that was based on the information that was made available. Is that part of the reason why, in that one, that as the association, you weren't in a position to make a fully informed position because of the lack of sort of knowledge, whether from the ministry or otherwise?
Well, yes, but also we were responsible enough that the BMDA, what it did is, among its professionals and people who are experts in the field, we had, let's call it this way, our virtual conferencing, where people from neurological perspective and mental health, psychiatrists, for example, we gave classes to our BMDA membership so that everybody could understand, you know, what is this plant, what does it do that gives people the pleasure, how can it harm, and what our concerns could be. So after the experts spoke, that survey was sent out, and these are results after that. Those conferences or classes were given to the doctors and dentists who are members of the BMDA.
You know, there's been conversation around, and in fact, the technology does allow for cannabis to be grown and manufactured with varying levels of THC. And you know, that's kind of the one of the things that people get most concerned about. Do you think that there would be, if you get more information where they talk about having a limit on the amount of THC in a product, that the position would change?
It very well could be, but it's not looking just at THC. Like I said, there are over 400 chemicals that are within that plant. We want to know what the composition is. If some strains or species or variants that we have here in Belize, whatever the street name is, I don't know, were sent to X, Y, or Z labs, which don't exist in Belize, somewhere outside of our country, and those results came back, we'd like to see what are the percentages not only of THC, but other chemicals that could be harmful and beneficial. Then with that information, then you can give a better declaration or position, because then you know what the content is, and you can warn people pros and cons for leisurely use, and perhaps down the road even for medicinal usage.
And the medicinal uses was going to be my next question, because I mean, if it is made law that, you know, medicinal use for marijuana is going to be allowed, obviously it will be medical professionals like yourself who will be the ones, let's say, prescribing. So has there been consultation within the medical community as to how exactly legalization of medicinal marijuana will look like?
Not as yet. Not as yet.
And among the members of the association, have other doctors sort of put forward a position as to what they feel would be the best way to handle it?
There are different positions. I mean, individually, you know, we don't really have groups that are opposing, but everybody has an opinion. What we've asked our membership is that besides, you know, the classes or the information that was given by experts, for everybody to read, it's to inform yourself. But also the BMDA is already embarking on a campaign to reinforce those, that information, the updated information as it comes out, because obviously we tap into what exists internationally, and we need our members to be on top of things and to have that knowledge firsthand. That is very important to us.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, you know, just how, if it is to be law, how will it be prescribed, you know, like what will, you know, in what form and what things, stuff
that's
like
a very good question. There are 4 ways that that it's used internationally. So big pharma, the big pharmaceutical companies, of which products already exist in the market, in Europe, for example, and in the USA, and that they have purified products that have a combination perhaps of CBD and THC that are used for certain things like maybe epilepsy, fits or convulsions or seizures, the words that people use, right? Very expensive, both in the US and in Europe. So that's big pharma. Then the second stage is what perhaps can have medicinal value in Belize, that we understood with the foreign consultant, with the minister, is that the specific growth of a marijuana plant with a specific percentage of THC for the national market, and the proposal from their perspective is across the board for leisure and for medicinal usage, which means the flower of the marijuana plant and other extracts from the marijuana plant. The third way it can be used is obviously something that in Belize exists already. We have traditional herbal healers, and they also, their concoctions that they would put however they mix it for whatever usage from a medicinal perspective that they do. You can't close them out. They have to be part of the conversation. And fourthly, something that already exists in Belize, that if you walk into pharmacies, health food stores, certain supermarkets, and you look at the shelves, you're going to find that there's certain products that have like CBD and other similar names. So they're used as supplements or vitamins to boost your overall health. Those are the 4 ways.
You can get, I've seen CBD products and I've seen hemp seeds and things along those lines. But my question is, you know, we've seen that in other parts of the world, doctors do prescribe marijuana for different treatments. You use epilepsy as one, pain management is another, allowing for people to open up their appetite. I don't know what's the medical term for that. And anxiety are some of the common ways that a prescribed dosage of marijuana would be used. Is there openness within, I mean, even if we move to that phase, do you think that we will have medical professionals that will actually utilize this type of prescription?
Well, there already are medical professionals that do that. I'm one of them. But we have to do it responsibly.
For which diseases would you prescribe, or illnesses, I'm sorry?
Right. Well, I primarily, I'm in the field, problems with the brain, the spine, the nerve, and pain. So the conditions that you mentioned, for example, anxiety, people that have sleep problems, I know from information that's coming out, people that have had like traffic accidents, concussions, right, or traumatic brain injury, these type of products can help, but you have to know how to do it, what percentages, and to do it responsibly.
Yeah.
Not because something is in a pharmacy or in the store of a supermarket means that the percentage they say they have in there is exactly what they have. Is it contaminated? We don't know.
Yeah.
So yes, we do see that there's an interest in doctors and dentists in our community to be able to get into this idea of having marijuana and CBD as products that we can have as instruments in treating people for varied conditions.
But you are one doctor. Do you know of others in Belize who do it?
Yes, I know off the top of my head a companion neurologist, a pediatric neurologist, and I know 2 general practitioners personally who we've had talks about it, and when they have expressed their desperation, it's like I have a patient that have hit a wall. Dr. Colleague or Dr. Cervantes, this patient went to X country outside in the US, they went to Guatemala, Merida, they've seen all the doctors here. I had no other recourse. Do I scold them? No, I'm nobody to scold them. Maybe I give them advice,
Yeah.
Why don't you give a bit more here, there, change the time of the day. You want me to give an opinion, send the patient over, or this is my advice. So there is dialogue in that sense.
Is there a way, perhaps, then, because I think based on our conversation so far and the release by the association, it sounds more like the concern overall is for responsible use. Let's put it like that. So is there a way to sort of balance the concerns of the medical community along with, let's say, the government and even internationalists that we're saying that, well, we recognize that there may be these issues, but what we don't want to, let's say, put people in jail for using drugs, and cannabis is just one example. So how do we find a balance where you can responsibly, let's say, if we're going to use the cannabis as one example, how do we responsibly do that?
Well, I think it's starting off with, with what is happening already, with us coming forward. But the first thing is conversation. And like I said before, there have to be more players in the equation, more people who have to get involved from different walks of life. The legal aspect, the economic aspect, like I said, traditional healers. A lot of people do have a lot of interest in being able to partake. So the suggestion is not only taking us doctors and dentists into consideration, but talk to other groups within civil society. Let everybody give their 2 cents or their 5 cents or 10 cents, and then we can reach a common ground. So it is not that the BMD is putting a position in opposing what the government is doing. It's saying, no, hey, hello, checks and balances. Let's be very responsible in the way we're doing it, because to us it seemed to be it's just being fast-tracked. So we said, we're not going to sound the alarm after it becomes law and says, but
why
no,
didn't you?
We are seeing it now. I mean, it may make certain people feel very uncomfortable, but it's not to cause conflict. It's basically, let's amplify and open up the conversation, and let's be very responsible in what Belize is doing, so we don't end up having a black eye nationally or internationally once a law has been passed, and there could be a lot of pitfalls in those amendments.
And I do say that the choice to put the position out now is very helpful in getting the conversation going. And it's not just a firm yes or no. You ask questions. You say very clearly you do support the new growth of this industry, but with certain parameters. My question, one place that you were very definitive in your position was the legal age of use of 21, which would be very different from what we've seen with alcohol and smoking so far, both which have drugs that can alter our behavior. But if you know, and maybe if we can explore that further, if we know that scientifically the brain doesn't fully develop until about that age 25, things like impulse control, making proper decisions, and even just kind of the development of who you are and what you do doesn't really happen or settle in until that age. Why not just push for the 25?
We want it to be reasonable.
Okay.
We want it to be reasonable. You can't be adamant about something. This is about, the conversation, dialogue, and negotiating. Okay. And what is the best way? Of course, we would say 25, but a lot of people in society would say, you're being very unreasonable, because when I am 18, I am an adult. The argument again is, yes, at 18 years of age, you are very prone to peer pressure. So the guys on your block are consuming, or even the girls are exposed. And well, I have to consume so I could be part of the group. I could be part of the crew, whatever the word you use, right? So peer pressure is going to influence an individual who is 18 easier than somebody who is 21.
Yeah.
And then if you have 3 more years that the brain has gone developing, well, if in that individual marijuana is going to cause serious problems, we already have 3 years, like we've kind of helped the brain to have more progression, better maturity, before negative impacts can go affecting the brain and other parts of the body.
Have you ever in your field come across sort of a negative impact from somebody who's perhaps used the marijuana from a young age?
Yes, I have patients. I can think about one at this precise moment that had been consuming for quite a while, and then came across with a diagnosis of epilepsy, and thought that the solution was, well, I'm already consuming this, so let me continue consuming it. And then the frustration was that consuming the marijuana did not stop the epileptic episodes. Saw many physicians, and what my colleagues, specialists did wasn't wrong. I had to point that out to this individual, and finally the person looked at me and said, Doc, he says, I think I have the answer. I think I have to stop consuming this. And I said, yes, sir. And then I said, what my colleagues have done, I said is correct, and I would just advise you have to drink medication per se for epilepsy, because of X, Y, and Z, you personally cannot consume marijuana because you know the answer, how bad you end up feeling and acting during the day.
All right. And my final question just is, have you, since the BMD has put forward their position, have you been called back to the table by the ministry? Are you open to further discussions to kind of flesh out where the legislation goes from here?
Well, we're very open to discussion with the ministry and any other, if there are other government departments that have to be involved, any other areas of civil society. We're very much open to conversation. We're also proposing that in the commission that has been proposed, that we would like to put forth at least 1 or 2 experts, because experts in this field of mental health and neurology, we are narcotics experts. And even if it's not a specialist who is a psychiatrist or a neurologist, right? Even if it's a general practitioner that is well-read and that knows what he or she is doing, they can be part of the commission. But yes, we have had an invitation to sit down and talk. I understand, I was informed late last night, by certain members of the Senate, and we definitely will sit down with the members of the Senate and give them our point of view in how this can go forward. We actually applaud that, because that's really only the first reach out that we've had. And we're waiting to go back and sit down with the minister and anybody else who wants to get involved in this conversation.
Well, thank you for coming in and sharing with us a bit behind the decision to put forward the position and the details that you have, or the positions that you actually have taken. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And from talking about the potential use of marijuana to using your deep breathing instead, right?
The two are not exclusive. But yeah, we're going to be taking a short break, and we're going to be coming back and talking all about some international yoga training that's going to be coming up. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
how can we support the emotional well-being of older adults during COVID-19? During the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly while in quarantine, individuals, including older adults, may become more anxious, angry, stressed, agitated, or withdrawn, especially those who need healthcare assistance or have cognitive decline or dementia. Here are 4 strategies that can help you in supporting an older adult during this difficult time. 1. Communicate information and listen. Present with accurate, simple, and accessible information and facts about the COVID-19 outbreak, its progression, treatment, and effective strategies to prevent infection. Listen patiently to their needs and concerns. For older people with mild cognitive impairment or early stages of dementia, inform them of what is happening within their capacity and provide support to ease their anxiety and stress. 2. Promote positive mental and emotional health. Provide access to available mental health and psychosocial support services, also known as MHPSS services, for older adults and communicate when and how they can access them. Help older people keep regular routines and schedules as much as possible. You can also help them create new ones, including regular exercising, cleaning, daily chores, singing, painting, or other activities. Facilitate regular communication between older adults and their friends and families. 3. Help with medical needs. Make sure that older adults have at least up to 1 month of all the regular medicines that they may require. Explain how to use protective devices in a clear, concise way. Always be respectful and patient. 4. Assist with daily activities. Provide older people with details related to how and where they can get practical help if needed, like calling a taxi, dropping off supplies, having groceries delivered, and requesting medical care, as well as information on any locally available social support programs and services. For more information, consult the webpage of the Pan American Health Organization, www.paho.org/coronavirus.
Hey son, how was your first day at sixth form?
Really cool. It was great to see my friends, and I really love my teachers.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm sorry I wasn't there for your first day, but I'll be back from Corozal next week.
It's okay, Dad. I can't wait to see you. Oh, and please remember, I still have some books I need to purchase.
Ah, yes. Let me e-cash you that right now. Money has been sent. I add a little extra cash just for you.
Whoa, Dad. Thanks. Got it.
You're welcome, sir.
Download the eCash app today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257. eCash, the future is here.
Bringing people together has always been SMART's mission and passion. That is why we are proud to have built a locally independent quality network from the ground up that spans the country with over 100 sites. We continue to add more affordable mobile data packages, broadband speeds, and voice services to meet your personal and business needs. SMART has set the standard of true competition with the most competitive prices on all services offered. We invite and welcome you to join the SMART family, where the value for your dollar matters. SMART will continue bringing new technologies, more affordable prices, network expansions, and people together. SMART, bringing people together.
And we are back, and we are about to find out more about what's happening in the yoga world in Belize. We are joined by Michelle Williams, the founder of Shanti Belize.
Hello.
Good
Thank you so
morning.
much. It's good to be back.
Yes, and in person, right?
Yes, that was a pleasant surprise when she said I could come to the studio.
Yeah. We're all vaccinated, and we still keep our spaces and wear masks. So, but it is a great opportunity to hear from you because you know what, Michelle, I think The whole world needs some yoga right now to kind of get themselves into a better space surviving this pandemic.
Yeah, you know, and that's partly why I'm doing this yoga teacher training, so we can get more people trained. And also to, I think Belize is kind of poised in everything that it's doing for the environment, and, you know, positioning itself as a country to be very environmentally conscious. And so wellness, I think, is a big part of that. And that's primarily why I'm doing this teacher training, to really focus on the hotels, to get hotels equipped with yoga teachers that can do wellness workshops and wellness retreats in-house, and not necessarily have to worry about bringing people. That's good to have people come, but to also offer it within, from their like massage therapist or, and I think it's a nice way to expose Belize as the wellness destination that it really should be recognized as.
Now, speaking of which, you also participated, I believe, in a yoga showcase with the BTB.
Yes.
And, you know, I guess maybe that's one way to kind of tie it in together. How, what was the interest there in thinking of doing yoga in a destination in Belize?
Well, you mean to go with the BTB to?
No, I mean the people who participated in New York.
Oh yes, yes. It was a great opportunity for them to come and to experience yoga and to hear a little bit about our culture, because we actually incorporated a Mayan theme. It was actually a Mayan themed yoga classes, and we incorporated the 5 elements. So it was a really nice combination of the ancient Indian yogic techniques and Belize and the Mayan culture. So that was a really nice way to like kind of like marry the two. And it was really well received. I think they got some really nice feedback, and of course people won packages to come to Belize. And so we would like for those the hotels that were able to offer these stays to offer yoga while they're there. So you know, that's partly why I came up with this particular yoga teacher training, but it's a little bit different because, as you know, I've held quite a few yoga teacher trainings before, and the school is highly rated internationally.
Yes.
But it's a little bit different. It's more integrated, so they're learning it's whole. It's a complete package. They're meditation, breath work, Kriya yoga. Eating habits, Ayurveda. We also incorporate some culture, Belizean culture, in our trainings, and also we teach them a little bit of trauma informed, so that they can really access and really give as much as they can as teachers, but also for themselves. You know, we find a lot of people, they come to our teacher trainings just to learn, to do a little bit of self growth, and then they end up sharing, of course, because the experience is so profound.
So this particular teacher training, is it going to be held?
So people can log in online and actually be with me as I teach in real time, and then access the recordings afterwards to go over, and it'll be uploaded over a space of time on our website. And then from that point, you know, they'll have work to do, homework to do, and then once they submit the homework, they'll get their certification. So it's a wonderful way for people that might not necessarily be able to fit the 3 weeks, because it's 3 weeks intensive, into their schedule, working people. But they'll be able to do it at their own pace, and to take their time, go back, revisit some of the lessons, and really kind of absorb the information and do the work.
And overall, so overall, how long is it then? Since we're not, well, it's not 3 weeks intensive all at once. Right? So how will it work then?
So if they come in person and they stay with us, it's 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks, 3 weeks intensive, and then they graduate. But those online, we'll give them probably up to 2.5 months to complete. But if they finish it, if they stay with us the whole time and they submit their homework, of course they'll graduate and we'll send them their certificates. And the wonderful thing about their certificates is that it's Yoga Alliance recognized, so they'll be able to register with Yoga Alliance, and there are some perks. I've been working a lot with Yoga Alliance International, doing, you know, meeting up and discussing some of the needs of countries like Belize, with support from an organization like Yoga Alliance. So that's also a big plus.
How much do you have to know about yoga to do this course?
For this course, the only thing that we require is that you have an open mind and have a sincere desire to evolve and to, you know, kind of upgrade and release some of the negative patterns that you've acquired over your life, which everybody has. And be open to some of the practices, you know. Like I said before, this particular teacher training is almost like a beautiful marriage of the ancient Himalayan techniques, pure, not diluted, direct from the Himalayas, and then incorporating it and with some of our Belizean cultures, like the people that come to actually stay with us. They'll go on tours, and we have like Creole drumming classes and show how drumming is part of yoga. It's not yoga, you know, it's sound yoga. And so I think it's a really beautiful, different way to approach the teacher trainings that I've done before.
You know, it's interesting. You said earlier that this is also a great opportunity for people within the tourism industry. So if it would be a situation where a resort maybe wants to offer in-house yoga, they can get somebody from their staff trained. Or if I want to access a job at a resort, maybe I can get this training and then go to them and say I can offer services.
Exactly. And actually, we haven't actually advertised the teacher training yet. It's from December 27th to January 17th.
Okay.
We haven't advertised, but we actually have 3 participants from hotels. The hotels have sent massage therapists who practice yoga on their own. One maybe doesn't have any experience, but they have experience of anatomy, you know, and they have the interest. And so we have people that are already that have already booked, and of course others. So it's an opportunity for the hotels to really get equipped and begin to offer the things that people are going to be looking for. In this time, people have been locked up. You know, they've been under a lot of stress. Like I've said before, when you're living in this virtual world, there's so much information that's coming at you so fast that people get really stressed out and overwhelmed. And one of the things that these practices does, in particular breath work and meditation, and of course the asana releases the physical tension, but it allows your capacity to expand. Once you're able to flush out the old and to really absorb things that are coming at you in any given moment, you're really able to maneuver through life better. And that's what meditation does, and that's what Kriya Yoga does. Kriya Yoga is actually the yoga of evolution. It's the technology of humanity. It's breath work, meditation. It allows us as humans to expand our consciousness. And I think that's what people want now. They want to be able to rest. They want to learn tools to be able to manage their lives, the new life, the new norm. And this is one of the ways that we're doing it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I do love that it gives people an opportunity to explore a new professional path as well.
Yeah, you know, and it's always good to have that, to have the knowledge for your everyday life. We're also we're going to be sharing, you know, transcendental wisdom. So wisdom to transcend and to really upgrade ourselves as individuals, to really know, to kind of like step into our true potential and to let go of the things that limit us, the mindsets, the conditioning that limit us. And so in that respect, it's good personally to have that ability to learn to discern and to self-study and to become a witness of your thoughts throughout the day, not just in meditation time. And so you don't act on those and you're able to pause. And then also to know the practices, the breathwork practices that will energize you, balance your nervous system, improve your immune system, expand your lungs, strengthen your lungs. These are all the things that these practices does, which is ironically incredibly useful in these times.
In this pandemic.
I don't know if you remember, but when you interviewed me when I was actually at SATVA, this is one of the things I was saying, you know, it's kind of like a beautiful gift that I was there practicing all these experiencing the experiences that come from these practices, and now I'm able to share in the most relevant way.
And what about the physical side of the practice as well, like the contribution to your physical wellness as well, and also for some of the people who may be interested, who may say, oh well, I can't do this, or I'm not, I think of yoga and I think about people who are super flexible or whatever.
I get that all the time, and Marlene knows from the very beginning, that's like the thing that I'm always trying to explain. The asana part of yoga, and as a practitioner you know this, it's a very small part. It's an important part, but it's a very small part. And it's important because it allows us to release physical tension. But the physical tension and the stiffness and the blockages in the physical body comes from what's created in our minds. Right? So it's important to have the integrated approach so that you're working with both. You're working with the mind, you're working with what you put in your body, you're working with your thoughts, you're working with your breath.
Yeah.
We breathe, it's the thing we do most, but most people don't know how to breathe properly. It's the most fundamental thing in our life. And so the physical aspect is very important to know and to become more aware of our bodies, and more aware of when we're becoming stressed. It usually manifests first in our bodies, but sometimes we're so detached from that. So it gives us the opportunity to really connect with our bodies, to have this intimate relationship with our bodies, so that we know when we need to breathe, when we need to calm, when we need to energize. And of course, all this helps with interaction, personal communication. So once you have that down pat, you can communicate with other people better. You know?
So you said the teacher training actually takes place in December, but you'll have limited space, I imagine.
We have limited space, and like I said, we already have hotels that have booked, and we have all the people that have booked. So we have up to 15 people, but that's already kind of becoming less. So if they want to come in person they'll be staying with us. So they'll be staying in our yoga retreat hotel in Harborview Boutique Hotel, and they'll be eating the most delicious healthy food from Martha's Cafe. And also we're incorporating Ayurvedic techniques and Ayurvedic morning drinks, which is the sister science to yoga. And at the same time, detoxing the body. So I recommend, if people want the full experience, to definitely come, but they won't lose out so much if they also access us online.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming in.
Can I just tell you how to reach us if you're interested?
Sure, sure.
So if people are interested, if hotels are interested, I'm actually reaching out to the Belize Hotel Association to see whether or not they'd like to partner with us to do some promotions with this. But they can reach us on our website, omshantibelize.com, or they can email my assistant at omshantiassistantbz@gmail.com. And we'll
you're
get
also very active on Facebook, so people can find you
we're
there
actually
as well.
we're on Facebook and then on Instagram as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and for letting us know about this new opportunity for people to take advantage of. And I think the key thing is, because I always feel like you have to have, be an expert already before you go to a teacher training. It's an openness to learn, and you can be able to benefit from it personally, and also from what you can offer others.
Yeah, most of what yoga is about is intention. And once you have your intention, that propels you. There has to be a desire, and once that's there, magic happens. So.
Absolutely. But Michelle, thanks again for telling us all about that training. We really appreciate that, and we hope that if anybody's listening, that they do come reach out and contact. But with that, we are going to be taking another short break, and when we come back, we're going to have our wrap up. So please stay tuned.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
The TV you love is always with you, from live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV, entertainment, anytime, anywhere.
Imagine going through your entire day without the burden and risk of carrying cash on you. Belize's shift to digital wallets has begun with eCash. We can now skip the cash when collecting money or paying for our essentials, all while using a fast, easy, and secure platform. Simply add funds to your wallet via bank transfer or at an agent, and you're good to go. You will be able to make quick, easy payments simply by scanning QR codes. And best of all, it all happens just like that. Payments are as easy as clicking a link online or scanning a QR code. Download the eCash app from the Google Play and Apple App Store today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. The future is here with eCash. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257 to find out more.
And we're back, and we want to say thank you for tuning in today. We started off the show getting our update from Glasgow, Scotland, as our very own Dwayne Moody is there as a part of the media delegation to share with us what's happening. We heard from Minister of Sustainable Development, Orlando Habet, talking about the negotiations that they're now entering into. I think we'd said in the past few days that the World Leaders Summit was the first event to take place. It was 2 days, and then after that, it's the negotiators and the technical persons who kind of step in and hammer out those last details.
Yes, and we continued sort of on this topic of energy in our first segment, and we were joined by Honorable Minister Rodwell Ferguson, and we're talking about the CARICOM Energy Month and the plans within the ministry to increase connectivity and reach some communities which don't have access to a lot of utilities, not only electricity. So I think it's encouraging, and that also that the conversation is being had about expanding in a sustainable way.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we had some great conversations all around today with BMDA about marijuana, with Michelle about teacher training, yoga teacher training. But I do want to say that we didn't get a chance to discuss much of the news that's been coming out, and you know, a couple things that were really interesting. One, I think it's wonderful news to be able to report that pediatrician Dr. Cecilia Eck, who has been battling COVID-19, has been taken off the ventilator and tested negative yesterday. So now he moves into a regular COVID ward. I know his family has asked for his little patients to send him voice notes. There is a long road to recovery with COVID-19, and after spending 5 days on a ventilator, I know that he probably has quite a journey ahead of him. So they are asking if your little one has been treated by him, for you to send a message over to him so that he can be encouraged through his recovery. But great news, especially with what we've been seeing with COVID, to be able to say, you know, someone has been successfully extubated and on that path to recovery.
Oh, absolutely, and we definitely want to wish the doctor and his loved ones all of the best,
Yeah.
and we wish him, you know, a speedy as possible recovery.
Yeah.
Normally, in the beginning of our show, we also give you some COVID-19 updates in relation to the latest figures from the daily tallies, which do come out from the Ministry of Health. One of the numbers from yesterday, which was also encouraging, was that we just saw no deaths over a 24-hour period, which is, of course, a very good thing and a positive development considering the numbers that we've been seeing recently. Of course, over 200 positive cases were confirmed yesterday, but we also had a number of recoveries to report. So the trend, even though it is a bit slow, but we are still seeing a downward trend in terms of new cases and the numbers of deaths.
Yeah.
So we will continue to bring you coverage of those numbers, but that's where we are in our battle against the pandemic today.
Two other big news that came out yesterday too. We now have gotten back, I have to be careful what I say it. We've now gotten back October 12th as a holiday, but now it will be Dia de la Raza and not Columbus Day. That is because the ministry has officially put forward the holidays for 2022. Very interesting to know. I know you caught the lack of extended weekend for Christmas next year. I caught that there wasn't any Commonwealth Day.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, they had the removal. Of course, we had the removal of Commonwealth Day, but of course, as with this year, we also saw that in August we're going to be marking Emancipation Day once again. So that is another change. Well, it's not necessarily a change from this year, but it's still relatively new.
Yeah.
Some
Dia de la Raza is one that I look forward to us to be able to explain some more. Not enough time right now, but it is something I think that is important to people. It's been celebrated in this region and especially in Latin American countries for quite some time. And the shift from Columbus Day to Dia de la Raza is very significant.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, that was just released yesterday. And we are going to, of course, be talking. I mean, I'm very interested, again, like you said, to talk about the Dia de la Raza. And I'm just looking at the list again, just to look at anything that jumps out. A lot, we're not getting a lot of
Well, if you talk to some people,
weekends.
they'll say, no, there's not enough, there are too many holidays. And then you'll talk to others who say there are not enough long weekends.
Yeah, well,
There's no winning with this formula,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah. But I do think it is important to recognize what we do commemorate as a country, and things like Emancipation Day, as we spoke of before, that is significant. George Price Day was added a while back as well. So we'll get into that conversation, but I know that was quite the buzz yesterday as well.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, and also in big news, the St. John's College is now offering a bachelor's program.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the latest tertiary level institution which will now be able to offer full bachelor's degrees programs. That announcement also came out from yesterday. The president of St. John's College, as well as the Minister for Education, Honorable Francis Fonseca, were there to make that big announcement, which is, it is of course, as you see on the screen, it is absolutely historic. Not only for St. John's, which is one of, if not the oldest educational institution continuous, having been founded in 1886.
You're a student, right?
Yes. So
I attended the junior college, so there are a lot of people who pass through that system.
Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be opening up a whole lot of doors for a whole lot of different people, not just in Belize City, but of course anybody who's able to access education. So it's this expansion of educational opportunities is really encouraging, and it's great news.
And I think it's interesting too for me. I think the trajectory for the growth, it's moving up towards a higher degree program. It started with high school, then junior associate level, now undergrad, versus kind of just institutions that get started with all of this in mind. And they had the blessing of the Stokely Hall. That was also great to see as well. I know Father Stokely growing up. He was a great friend of my mom's. So I saw that yesterday, and you just knew he'd be so proud.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so we definitely wish them the best of luck, and hopefully and we wish the best of luck to the students who will eventually be attending the program.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's just some of the stuff that was buzzing from yesterday, but we got to get moving. Of course, we want to say thank you for tuning in this morning, and we encourage you to tune in again tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
And your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, please.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.